The email notification lit up my phone just as I was pulling the tray of snickerdoodles from the oven. My daughter's name appeared on the screen. I set the hot tray on the cooling rack and wiped my flour-dusted hands on my apron before opening the message. "Mom, we need to talk about the grand opening." My heart did a little flip. The grand opening. 3 months of planning. Watching my daughter Rebecca's dream finally come to life. The bakery. Our bakery, I'd thought. Sweet beginnings. I'd invested $80,000 of my retirement savings into that business. My late husband Tom's life insurance money. The nest egg we'd built over 40 years of marriage. I scrolled down. Derek and I have been thinking. The grand opening is really about establishing our brand identity, and we need to keep it exclusive. We're inviting food critics, influencers, potential investors. We think it's best if you don't attend. You understand, right? It's business, not personal. We'll do a family thing later. Promise. I read it 3 times. Each time, the words stayed the same. Each time, they hurt more. You understand, right? Did I understand? Did I understand that my own daughter was uninviting me from the opening of a business I'd funded? That the $80,000 I'd given her apparently didn't buy me a seat at the table? The snickerdoodles cooled on the rack, forgotten. I'd been making these cookies every Sunday for 52 years. First for Tom, then for Rebecca when she was born. Later for Rebecca and Derek after they married. The kitchen had always been my sanctuary. Now it felt like a cage. My phone buzzed again. Another message from Rebecca. Also, we need another $15,000 for the espresso machine upgrade. Can you transfer it by Friday? The installer is scheduled for next week. I set the phone down, face down, and stared at my reflection in the kitchen window. A 63-year-old woman stared back, wearing Tom's old flannel shirt over her baking apron. When had I become so easy to dismiss? Let me back up. Let me tell you how we got here. Rebecca had always been artistic. Even as a child, she'd spend hours decorating cookies with me, turning simple sugar cookies into edible masterpieces. After college, she'd worked at a marketing firm for 10 years, but her heart was never in it. 2 years ago, she'd come to me with this dream. A boutique bakery, artisanal breads, European pastries, custom cakes. She'd shown me a business plan, projections, mood boards. "Mom, this is what I'm meant to do," she'd said, her eyes shining the way they used to when she was 7 and telling me about her latest art project. "But the startup costs are significant. Derek and I have saved $40,000, but we need at least another $80,000 to secure the location, equipment, initial inventory." I know it's a lot to ask. It was a lot. It was most of what I had left after Tom's funeral expenses, after settling the house, after paying off the last of our debts. But Rebecca was my only child, my baby, and this was her dream. "I want to invest," I told her. "Not give, invest. I'll be a partner, right?" "Of course, Mom. 20% equity. It'll be in writing." We'd shaken on it, right there in my kitchen, over cups of the coffee I'd taught her to make when she was 12. That was 18 months ago. Since then, I'd watched the bakery take shape. I'd helped paint the walls a soft cream color. I'd been there when the vintage display cases arrived. I'd tested every recipe Rebecca developed, offering suggestions from my 50 years of baking experience. She'd taken some of my advice, ignored most of it. "Derek thinks we should go more upscale, Mom. Your recipes are great, but they're very traditional. We're targeting a younger, more sophisticated demographic." Derek. My son-in-law of 6 years. 38 years old, worked in tech sales, always wearing designer suits and checking his phone during family dinners. He'd been supportive of Rebecca's dream. I'd give him that. But something about the way he'd inserted himself into every decision made me uneasy. 3 months ago, they'd asked for another $20,000. "Unexpected costs," Rebecca had explained. "The HVAC system needs to be upgraded to commercial standards. We didn't account for it in the original budget." I transferred the money that same day. 2 months ago, another $15,000. Premium ingredients cost more than we projected. And we need to hire a social media manager to build buzz before opening. I'd sent that too. though my accountant had warned me I was draining my savings too fast. Last month, Derek had suggested I co-sign on a business line of credit. Just as a backup, he'd assured me, we probably won't even use it, but having it available will help with cash flow in the first few months. I'd signed the papers in Rebecca's kitchen while she was at the bakery finalizing the menu. Derek had poured me a glass of wine, made small talk about the weather, acted like we were the best of friends. Now, standing in my kitchen with that email burning in my mind, I realized I'd been played. The cookies had gone cold. I packaged them up anyway, force of habit, and put them in a container. Every Sunday for 2 years, I'd brought fresh cookies to the bakery site, for Rebecca and the contractors and whoever else was there. A small thing, I thought. A way to show my support. I hadn't been to the bakery in 3 weeks. Rebecca had stopped asking me to visit. We're so busy with final preparations, Mom. I'll call you when things settle down. I picked up my phone and opened the text thread with my best friend, Diane. We'd known each other since our kids were in elementary school together, had survived widowhood together after we both lost our husbands within a year of each other. Need to talk. Can you come over? Her response came immediately. Give me 20 minutes. Diane arrived with a bottle of wine and took one look at my face before pulling me into a hug. What did they do? She asked. I showed her the emails. She read them twice, her expression growing darker with each pass. Then she set the phone down and poured us both generous glasses of wine. Eleanor, she said, using my full name the way she only did when she was serious. You know what this is, right? My daughter being practical about business? Your daughter being manipulated by that husband of hers, and both of them taking advantage of you. Diane's directness was one of the things I loved about her. They've taken over $100,000 from you. They made you co-sign a credit line. And now they're telling you that you're not good enough to attend the grand opening of a business you funded? She said it's about brand identity. It's about them being ashamed of you. And that's disgusting. Diane took a long sip of wine. What are you going to do? I don't know. But that wasn't entirely true. Somewhere in the back of my mind, a small voice was whispering, the voice that had gotten me through Tom's death, through the loneliness of the first year alone, through learning to rebuild my life at 61, the voice that said, enough. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed, in the room I'd shared with Tom for 40 years, and I thought about all the times I'd put myself second, all the times I'd said yes when I wanted to say no, all the times I'd swallowed my hurt feelings because being a good mother meant being accommodating. Tom used to tell me I was too soft. Ellie, he'd say, being kind doesn't mean being a doormat. I'd always brushed him off. But maybe he'd been right. At 3 a.m, I got up and went to my home office. I pulled out the partnership agreement Rebecca and I had signed. 20% equity. In writing, legal and binding. I also pulled out the papers for the business line of credit I'd co-signed. $50,000, available for use. My name is guarantor. And I made a decision. Monday morning, I called my lawyer. Harold Chen had handled Tom's estate and had been our family lawyer for 20 years. Eleanor, he greeted me warmly. What can I do for you? I need to understand my rights regarding a business partnership, I said. I explained the situation. All of it. The investments, the co-signing, the grand opening invitation that wasn't an invitation. Harold was quiet for a long moment. Do you have the partnership agreement with you? Right here. Bring it to my office. 2 o'clock work for you? At 2 o'clock, I sat in Harold's conference room while he reviewed the documents. This is actually very well drafted, he said finally. You have rights as a 20% partner. You're entitled to financial statements, to participate in major business decisions, to your share of any profits. Have you received any of this? No. Have they asked your permission for major expenditures? They've asked for money. They haven't asked for permission. Harold removed his glasses and looked at me with a mixture of sympathy and frustration. Eleanor, they're in violation of this agreement. You have grounds to enforce your partnership rights or to demand buyout of your equity stake. What would that look like? Well, if the business is valued at the $400,000 you've invested and helped them secure, your 20% stake would be worth $80,000. You could demand they buy you out at that valuation. The amount I'd put in, just getting back what I'd given. What else? I asked. You could demand they honor the partnership agreement. Full financial transparency, voting rights on major decisions, your fair share of any profits. And if they refuse, then you could force a dissolution of the partnership or a court-ordered buyout. It would be messy. It would probably destroy your relationship with your daughter. I thought about that email, about being told I didn't fit the brand identity, about the grand opening I'd funded but wasn't invited to. The relationship is already destroyed, Harold. I just didn't want to see it. He nodded slowly. What do you want to do? I wanted to not be in this position. I wanted my daughter to love and respect me. I wanted Tom here to tell me what to do, but I couldn't have any of those things. I want to protect myself, I said finally. Over the next week, Harold prepared a formal notice to Rebecca and Derek. As a 20% partner in Sweet Beginnings, I was exercising my rights to full financial disclosure and demanding they cease all major expenditures without my written approval. Additionally, I was formally demanding my share of decision-making authority as outlined in our partnership agreement. This will get their attention, Harold said as he handed me the letter. Good. I had it delivered to the bakery on a Wednesday afternoon, exactly 1 week before the grand opening. Rebecca called me within an hour. I was in my garden, pulling weeds from the tomato bed, when my phone rang. Mom, what the hell is this? Her voice was sharp, angry. I'd rarely heard her speak to me like that. I sat back on my heels and wiped dirt from my hands. It's me enforcing the partnership agreement you signed, sweetheart. We had an agreement that you'd be a silent partner. No, we had an agreement that I'd have 20% equity and the rights that come with it. I've been silent because I trusted you. That's apparently ended. This is because of the grand opening, isn't it? Mom, I explained that. It's business. Then let's talk business. I want to see the financials. I want to know where my $115,000 went. I want to understand why you need another $15,000 for an espresso machine when you've already gone $35,000 over budget. Silence on the other end. You don't trust me, Rebecca said finally, and her voice cracked. That almost broke me. Almost. But then I remembered that email, the casual dismissal, the assumption that I'd just accept being excluded from something I'd made possible. Trust is earned, Rebecca. Right now, I need transparency. She hung up on me. Derek called, 10 minutes later. Eleanor, I think there's been a misunderstanding. His voice was smooth, practiced. The voice he used with clients. I imagined. I don't think there has been, Derek. Rebecca is very upset. This letter, threatening legal action. I haven't threatened anything. I've simply asked to exercise my rights as a partner. You're acting like we've done something wrong. Have you? Another silence. We've been working 18-hour days to make this bakery successful. For all of us. Including you. Then you'll have no problem sharing the financial statements with me. It's complicated. There are a lot of moving pieces. I'm not sure you'd understand the nuances of commercial bakery finance. And there it was, the condescension I'd been feeling but couldn't quite name until this moment. They didn't just want me to be a silent partner. They wanted me to be an ignorant one. Try me, I said. I managed a household budget for 40 years, put a daughter through college, and ran the finances for Tom's small business for a decade before he died. I think I can handle a spreadsheet. This isn't personal. Eleanor, that's the second time someone in your family has said that to me this week. Funny how the things that aren't personal always feel very personal to the person being hurt. I hung up before he could respond. That night, Diane came over with Chinese takeout and moral support. They called you, didn't they? She asked, unpacking containers of kung pao chicken and lo mein. Both of them. And Derek treated me like I'm too stupid to understand business, and Rebecca hung up on me. Diane shook her head. What's your next move? I wait to see if they comply with the demand letter. If they don't, Harold files a formal complaint. You're really going to do this? I'm really going to do this. We ate in silence for a few minutes. Then Diane said, You know what's funny? Rebecca spent her whole childhood watching you bake, learning from you, and now she's built a business on those skills. And she doesn't want you at the opening. Derek's influence. Maybe. Or maybe Rebecca's more like Derek than you want to admit. That thought kept me up that night. Friday came and went with no response from Rebecca or Derek. Saturday too. The grand opening was scheduled for Thursday evening. A champagne reception, according to the Instagram posts I'd been torturing myself by looking at. Invitation only, press and influencers and select guests. I wasn't selected. Monday morning, I received an email from a lawyer I didn't know. Rebecca and Derek had hired an attorney to respond to my demand letter. Their position, in summary, I had made a series of gifts to support my daughter's business. The partnership agreement was ceremonial, not legally binding, as I had never attended any board meetings or participated in any business decisions, thereby implicitly waiving my rights. Harold called me after he received the same letter. They're claiming you abandoned your partnership rights by not exercising them earlier. Can they do that? It's a creative argument. Probably won't hold up in court, but it'll make things expensive and messy if we have to litigate. What do you recommend? We have another option. You co-signed that business line of credit, correct? Yes. As a co-signer, you have the right to monitor the account. And you have the right to request the credit line be frozen if you believe it's being misused or if you believe your credit is at risk. I thought about that for a moment. If I freeze the credit line now, a week before opening, it would probably create significant financial stress for the business. They've likely been using it for operating expenses, final build-out costs, initial inventory. Is that wrong of me? To consider doing that? Harold's voice was gentle. Eleanor, they've taken over $100,000 from you, excluded you from the business you funded, and are now claiming you have no rights as a partner. You need to protect yourself. Let me think about it. I thought about it for approximately 5 minutes. Then I called the bank and requested the credit line be frozen, effective immediately, pending a review of how the funds were being used. The credit manager was professional and sympathetic. As the co-signer and guarantor, you have every right to request this, Mrs. Morrison. I'll process it within the hour. Thank you. Just so you're aware, this will likely trigger alerts to the primary account holders. I understand. Rebecca called me before the hour was up. This time, she was crying. Mom, what did you do? I protected my credit. I have no idea how that line is being used, and I'm not comfortable guaranteeing debt I can't monitor. You're destroying us. We have vendors to pay. We have payroll. The opening is in 3 days. Then I suggest you provide me with the financial statements I requested a week ago and show me that my concerns are unfounded. I can't believe you're doing this to me. Something in me snapped. I can't believe you uninvited me to the grand opening of a business I funded. I can't believe you've taken my money and treated me like an ATM instead of a partner. I can't believe you let your husband convince you that I'm too embarrassing to be seen at an event I made possible. Silence. Then, softly, Derek didn't convince me of anything. That hurt more than anything else she could have said. Then you did this on your own. Mom, you have to understand. The bakery is trying to establish itself in a competitive market. We need to make a certain impression. And you. You're still baking snickerdoodles and wearing Tom's old shirts. That's not the image we're projecting. There it was. The truth, finally. I wasn't upscale enough, wasn't sophisticated enough, wasn't good enough. I see, I said, and my voice sounded strange even to my own ears. Distant. Detached. Then I suggest you find another source of funding. I'm done. You can't be serious. I've never been more serious about anything in my life. This time, I was the one who hung up. I sat in my kitchen for a long time after that call. The kitchen, where I'd taught Rebecca to bake, where we'd spent countless Sunday mornings covered in flour, laughing. The kitchen where I'd comforted her through her first heartbreak, celebrated her wedding, listened to her dreams about the bakery. When had I lost her? Or had I ever really had her? Diane found me there an hour later. I'd given her a key years ago, after Tom died, so I wouldn't be completely alone in the house. I heard my car pull up from inside and knew it was bad, she said, settling into the chair across from me. Tell me. I told her everything. The conversation, Rebecca's words about my image, the frozen credit line. Diane reached across the table and took my hand. Oh, sweetie. I thought being a good mother meant supporting her dreams. It does. But being a good mother also means teaching her that respect goes both ways. You didn't fail her, Eleanor. She failed you. That night, I did something I hadn't done since Tom's funeral. I opened the photo albums. Pages and pages of Rebecca's childhood. Birthday parties I'd thrown, Halloween costumes I'd sewn, school projects I'd helped with, and later, Rebecca and Derek's wedding, the baby shower I'd hosted for the grandchild that never came because they decided they didn't want children, the family holidays where I'd cooked for days to make everything perfect. In every photo, I was smiling, supporting, giving. When had I stopped being a person and become just a resource? Tuesday morning, Harold called with an update. Rebecca and Derek's attorney has filed a motion to have the partnership agreement declared invalid. They're also claiming you're interfering with their business operations by freezing the credit line. Can they make me unfreeze it? Not easily. You're the co-signer, but they can make this very ugly. Let them. Eleanor, Harold, I spent 63 years being nice, being understanding, being the bigger person. And where did it get me? I'm alone, $100,000 poorer, and my daughter is ashamed of me. I'm done being nice. Wednesday, the day before the grand opening, Derek showed up at my door. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won out. He looked terrible. Rumpled suit, dark circles under his eyes. Eleanor, please. We need to talk. I didn't invite him in. Talk. The credit line freeze is causing serious problems. We have vendors threatening to pull out. We might have to postpone the opening. Then, provide the financial statements I requested. It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple, Derek. He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture of frustration I'd seen 100 times before. Fine. You want the truth? We're over budget. Way over budget. We've spent about $260,000 so far. I did the math quickly. They'd raised $40,000. I'd given $115,000, and they'd drawn on the credit line. That meant they'd used all $50,000 from the credit line. On what? Everything costs more than we projected. The build-out, the equipment, licensing, insurance, marketing, pre-opening staff training. Rebecca wanted everything perfect. So you're already in debt before you've sold a single cupcake. We'll make it back. The business plan is solid. We just need to get through the opening. And you need me to unfreeze the credit line so you can borrow more money. We need operating capital, first month expenses, while we build up revenue. I looked at him, really looked at him, and saw a desperate man who'd made promises he couldn't keep. Derek, why did you tell Rebecca I didn't fit the brand image? He had the grace to look ashamed. I never said that exactly, but you implied it. I suggested that the opening should focus on the future of the business, not the past. That we should be forward-looking. Rebecca interpreted that to mean, well, what she said. So you let her do your dirty work. It wasn't supposed to be like this. You were supposed to be a silent investor. Then you'd come to the opening and be proud, and everyone would be happy. Except you took that choice away from me. You made decisions without me, excluded me, and then acted surprised when I enforced my rights. What do you want, Eleanor? Tell me what you want, and let's fix this. I thought about that question. What did I want? I wanted my daughter back. I wanted the relationship we used to have. I wanted to be valued, not just as a source of money, but as a person. But I couldn't say any of that to Derek. I want my money back, I said instead. Every penny. That's impossible. It's all invested in the business. Then sell the business. Or find other investors. Or declare bankruptcy. I don't care how you do it, but I want out. You'll destroy Rebecca's dream. Rebecca destroyed our relationship. These are just the consequences. I closed the door in his face. That evening, Rebecca called. Not Derek this time. Rebecca. Mom. Her voice was small, young-sounding, like when she was 7 and had broken something valuable. Please don't do this. I'm not doing anything, sweetheart. I'm just protecting myself. The opening is tomorrow. We've invited 200 people. Food critics. Influencers. If we have to cancel, you should have thought about that before you uninvited me. I made a mistake. Yes, you did. I'm sorry. Okay? I'm sorry. Please unfreeze the credit line. Please come to the opening. We can fix this. I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to believe her. But I'd heard this before, after Tom's funeral, when Rebecca had promised to visit more often and then disappeared for months. After holidays, when she'd promised to host next time and then always found an excuse. After 100 small hurts that I'd forgiven, because that's what mothers do. Rebecca, do you even know what kind of cookies I brought you every Sunday for 2 years? Silence. Snickerdoodles. Your favorite since you were 4 years old. I made them every Sunday and brought them to the bakery site. And you never once acknowledged them. You never said thank you. You just ate them and asked for more money. That's not fair. No, what's not fair is being treated like an ATM instead of your mother. What's not fair is investing my life savings into your dream and then being told I'm not good enough to celebrate it with you. I never said you weren't good enough. You said I didn't fit your brand identity. Same thing. More silence. Then, what do you want me to do? I want you to be honest with yourself about what you've done. I want you to look at how you've treated me and really think about whether that's the person you want to be. And the credit line? Stays frozen until I see full financial disclosure and a clear plan for how you'll pay back every penny you owe me. We'll lose everything. Then you'll understand how I feel. I hung up before I could change my mind. I didn't sleep at all Wednesday night. I lay in bed and imagined the phone calls Rebecca and Derek were making, the vendors they were scrambling to pay, the panic they must be feeling. And I felt terrible about it. But I also felt something else. Something I hadn't felt in a very long time. I felt like I mattered. Thursday morning, the day of the grand opening that might not happen, Harold called. They've agreed to your terms. Full financial disclosure, payment plan for your investment, and they want to negotiate a buyout of your partnership stake. They found money? Rebecca's in-laws. Derek's parents have agreed to invest in exchange for equity. Derek's parents, the people Rebecca and Derek had apparently never asked for help before coming to me. I see. They want to meet this afternoon, 2 o'clock. Can you make it? I thought about saying no, about letting them scramble, about making them cancel the opening they didn't want me at anyway. But that wasn't who I was. I'll be there. The meeting was at Harold's office. Rebecca and Derek, their attorney, Harold, and me. Rebecca looked like she'd aged 10 years overnight. Derek looked furious. Their attorney presented a buyout offer. $85,000 for my 20% stake, paid over 5 years, with Derek's parents' equity stake as collateral. I looked at Harold. He shrugged slightly, meaning it was up to me. $85,000. $15,000 less than I'd invested, paid out over 5 years, with no guarantee the business would even survive that long. No, I said. Rebecca's face crumpled. Mom, please. No. If I'm selling my stake, I want fair market value. The business is capitalized at over $260,000, plus physical assets. My 20% stake is worth at least $65,000 in pure equity, plus my premium as a founding investor. I want $120,000, paid over 3 years, guaranteed by Derek's parents personally, not just their equity stake. That's unreasonable, their attorney said. What's unreasonable is asking me to take a loss on an investment I made in good faith while being excluded from the very business I funded. Derek leaned forward. We don't have that kind of money. Then you shouldn't have spent $260,000 on a business you can't afford. Harold cleared his throat. There is another option. Eleanor maintains her 20% stake, receives quarterly financial reports and profit distributions according to the partnership agreement, and attends board meetings as a full partner with voting rights. Absolutely not, Derek said. Then we have an impasse, Harold said mildly. Rebecca was crying now, mascara running down her face. Mom, why are you doing this to me? That question. Again, I stood up, gathering my purse. I'm not doing this to you, Rebecca. I'm doing this for me. You made a choice when you uninvited me to that opening. You chose Derek's opinion over our relationship. You chose an image over your mother. And now you're experiencing the consequences of that choice. You're going to destroy everything I've worked for. No, sweetheart, you did that yourself when you decided I wasn't good enough to be part of it. I walked to the door. Then I turned back. For what it's worth, I hope your opening is successful. I hope the bakery thrives. I hope you get everything you wanted. But you'll do it without my money and without my blessing. Harold will be in touch about the buyout negotiations." I left before I could see her reaction. The grand opening happened that night. I know because I saw the Instagram posts. Rebecca in an elegant black dress. Derek in a suit. Champagne flowing. Beautifully plated pastries. Smiling faces. It looked perfect. It looked exactly like the upscale, sophisticated brand identity they wanted. I sat in my kitchen, eating a snickerdoodle, and cried. Not because I regretted what I'd done, but because I grieved what I'd lost. The next morning, Diane came over with coffee and newspapers. "You okay?" she asked. "Not really. But I will be, for what it's worth. I'm proud of you." "For what?" "Destroying my relationship with my daughter? For standing up for yourself. For the first time in your life, you put your needs first. That takes courage." We sat in silence for a while. Then my phone rang. It was Harold. "Eleanor, they've accepted your terms. 120,000. Paid over 3 years. Personally guaranteed by Derek's parents." I closed my eyes. "Okay, there's one condition. Rebecca wants to meet with you. Alone. No lawyers." "When?" "She's asking if you can come to the bakery on Sunday morning." "Before they open?" "Sunday. The day I used to bring snickerdoodles." "Tell her yes." Sunday morning, I drove to Sweet Beginnings for the first time in a month. The storefront was beautiful. Cream and gold signage, a vintage-style awning, window boxes full of flowers. Rebecca was waiting inside, wearing jeans and a Sweet Beginnings t-shirt, her hair pulled back. She looked young and vulnerable, and so much like the little girl who used to help me bake. "Hi, Mom." "Hi, sweetie." We stood there awkwardly for a moment. Then Rebecca gestured to a small table by the window. "Want to sit?" We sat. Rebecca had made coffee. My coffee, the way I'd taught her, with just a hint of cinnamon. "I've been doing a lot of thinking," Rebecca said finally. "About what you said. About how I treated you." I waited. "You were right. About all of it. I did take you for granted. I did treat you like an ATM. And I did choose Derek's opinion over our relationship." She looked down at her coffee cup. "I think I was so desperate to make him proud, to prove I could succeed, that I lost sight of what really mattered." "Why did you need to prove anything to Derek?" "Because he's successful. He makes good money. He's confident and decisive, and everyone respects him. And I was just a marketing manager who hated her job and wanted to bake cookies." "Just?" I echoed. "Rebecca, you have a gift. You always have. Why wasn't that enough?" "Because Derek's family. They're very accomplished. His father is a surgeon. His mother is a lawyer. And when I told them I wanted to leave marketing to open a bakery, they thought it was cute, like a hobby, not a real business. So you tried to make it more than it was." "I tried to make it something they'd respect. Something sophisticated and upscale and worthy of the Harrington name." She laughed bitterly. "I forgot that it was supposed to be my dream, not theirs." "And where do I fit in your dream, Rebecca?" She met my eyes finally, and hers were full of tears. "You were always the foundation, Mom. Every recipe I create, I think about our Sunday mornings in your kitchen. Every technique I teach my staff, I remember you teaching me. You're in every cookie, every loaf of bread, every cake we make. And I tried to erase that because I was ashamed of where I came from. I was ashamed of being just Eleanor Morrison's daughter instead of someone important in my own right. My heart broke a little. Oh, sweetheart, I'm so sorry, Mom, for all of it. For taking your money and not appreciating it, for excluding you from the opening, for saying those terrible things, for choosing an image over our relationship. I'm sorry." I reached across the table and took her hand. "I forgive you." "Just like that?" "No, not just like that. It's going to take time to rebuild trust, and things can't go back to the way they were. But you're my daughter. I love you. And I forgive you." She squeezed my hand, crying openly now. "I don't deserve it. None of us deserve forgiveness, Rebecca. That's what makes it grace. We sat like that for a long time, holding hands across the table in the bakery we'd both sacrificed for. Finally, Rebecca wiped her eyes and stood up. "I want to show you something." She led me to the kitchen, to a display case I hadn't noticed before. Inside were rows of cookies, snickerdoodles. "They're on the regular menu now," Rebecca said. "I call them Graham's snickerdoodles. Your recipe, exactly as you taught me. They're our best seller." I stared at those cookies, those simple, unfashionable, traditional cookies that I'd been making for 50 years, and I started crying. "You named them after me? You're the Graham I hope to be someday. If I'm lucky enough to have grandchildren, I want them to know where these cookies came from. I want them to know you. I thought I didn't fit your brand identity. I was wrong. You are the brand identity. You're the heart of everything this place is supposed to be." And I almost lost sight of that. She pulled out a container from under the counter. "I saved these. Every snickerdoodle you brought for 2 years. I froze them, because even when I was being terrible to you, I couldn't throw away something you made with love." I looked at my daughter, really looked at her, and saw someone struggling to find her way. Someone who'd made terrible mistakes but was trying to learn from them. Someone who was still, underneath the designer clothes and the sophisticated menu and the upscale brand, my little girl, who loved to bake. "What happens now?" I asked. "Now, we do better. Derek and I are going to marriage counseling. We need to figure out our priorities. And I'm going to work on being less concerned with what other people think and more focused on what makes me happy. And the bakery? The bakery will succeed or fail on its own merits. Derek's parents' investment bought us breathing room, but it's up to us to make it work. Without exploiting you, without taking advantage of your love. I'll still want my buyout money. The full amount. I know. We'll pay it. Every penny. It might take the full 3 years, but we'll pay it. And if the bakery fails, then I'll get a job and pay you back anyway. Because it's the right thing to do. Because I owe you. And because I want to be someone you can be proud of." I pulled her into a hug, holding her tight the way I used to when she was small and scared. "I've always been proud of you, Rebecca. Even when I was hurt, even when I was angry, I was still proud. I just wanted you to be proud of me too. I am, Mom. I always have been. I just forgot to show it." We stood there in that beautiful kitchen, surrounded by the dream we'd both invested in, and I felt something shift. Not back to the way things were. We couldn't go back, but forward into something new. Something built on honesty instead of obligation, on respect instead of assumption, on boundaries instead of endless giving. It wasn't the ending I'd imagined when I started this journey. It wasn't neat or simple or completely happy, but it was real, and it was enough. 3 months later, I received my first buyout payment, right on time. With a note from Rebecca, "Thank you for believing in my dream, even when I didn't believe in you. I love you, Mom." I deposited the check and treated myself to something I hadn't done in years. I took a pottery class, something just for me, something I'd always wanted to try but had never had time for because I was too busy supporting other people's dreams. My first pot was lopsided and ugly, and I loved it completely. Rebecca texted me a picture that evening. Her, at the bakery, holding a tray of perfectly formed snickerdoodles. "Thinking of you. Mom, come by for coffee sometime?" I texted back. "Sunday morning. I'll bring my lopsided pot to show you." "Can't wait," she replied, adding a heart emoji. And for the first time in 2 years, I felt like maybe, just maybe, we were going to be okay. Not because I'd sacrificed myself again, not because I'd given in or given up or pretended I hadn't been hurt, but because I'd stood up for myself, because I'd demanded respect, because I'd shown my daughter that love without boundaries isn't love at all. It's just another form of slow erasure, and I was done erasing myself for anyone.